Once again, my name is Lawrence Flatty, also known as Mr. International. Like I said before, here in NYC, the Bronx, the BX, right? I also have 6 years here in the Bronx, and I'm also looking to scale my business this year a little further, move up a little more. I'm looking in the Huntsville, Alabama, Norfolk, Virginia, Piedmont Triad area, and always looking for someone if anybody needs help. We're here, this is what you're here for. We're here to help each other and to give some value. So, like I said before, my guest is Albrey G. I've been trying to get Albrey G on here since the beginning of the year. She's a very busy person. As a matter of fact, she called me today. I'm on my way from, I'm gonna be on a meetup a little late because I'm visiting the meetings from 7 o'clock this morning. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Albrey is an investor. She's also CEO of her own company, and she also runs a nonprofit, right? And as we talked before, we met down in Miami, and she talked about communication. For her, communication is the top of the rung, right? She is very humble and very quiet, but when Albrey speaks, when she speaks, you really listen. So Albrey, I want to say thank you again for coming on, taking time from your family and time from your business and other things you're doing, because you are very busy with a capital B person. I mean, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate you, and the floor is yours.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. Since you guys did your elevator pitch, I'm active and passive in commercial real estate. I actually started in the parking garage space in college. At that time, it wasn't something you could really talk about because of the contract I had signed. So therefore, that's where I got my start in parking garage space. And I'm very active and passive in multifamily self-storage and parking. Tonight, I'm definitely going to be talking about communication. I think it's the start and the end, the journey, and the beginning of everything and all things that should matter, that lead us to an ultimate overall goal. So to be, hope you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. It's the life legacy mindset. The emphasis is on communication is a team sport. I'll be definitely having a point of emphasis on self-communication of how you talk to yourself and how you show up for yourself, and also how you communicate with others. Because oftentimes we communicate, or at least we think we're communicating, and we're trying to communicate with someone as if they're us and they're receiving the information the way we would receive it, as opposed to who they are and how they receive communication and how they respond to it. The content for tonight would be defining team sport communication. I'm very big on defining what words mean, because oftentimes the root word of a word lets you know more about that actual word and the meaning and how it applies. Who are you? Literally asking yourself that question. I don't think we do it enough. Oftentimes we're so consumed with others and adding value to others. And most people, when they give you a why, their why has something to do with everyone but them first and then others. What is your value system? Once you find out the core of who you are, you kind of can center yourself when you find yourself in situations, focusing on the feelings as opposed to focusing on the facts. Purpose goals, being purposeful with your goals, and when you set them, not just setting smart goals because everyone tells you should set them, but be purposeful with your goals. Setting timelines, deadlines to achieve those actual goals, so they're priority and they lead to value, which gets the maximum amount of your time. Team sport communication skills, 4 purpose questions, always focusing on the facts. What is your communication style? I'm going to break down some communication styles. And at the very end, I'll even have it to where I can send you guys an exercise so you can kind of see how you communicate and maybe how to communicate with others that might be a little different than you. And then we'll do a Q&A where how may I be of value to you and how may we be of value to each other as a whole. And then how to stay connected. The breakdown of team sport communication. Team as a noun is a group of players performing one side in a competitive game or sport. Real estate is a sport, whether it's residential or commercial. It's just more so, are we willing to communicate? What team are we on? Are we on the same page in the same book? Are we acquisitions? Are we raising equity? Are we asset management? Are we managing the property manager? Just a number of different things. Are we, if it's a fix and flip, are you managing the contracting team, the general contracting team? Who's managing the general contractor? Just managing the subcontractors? Verb, which is an action, coming together as a team to achieve a common goal. So that goes back to setting deadlines, timelines that are reasonable and realistic, to meeting them to achieve it, and everyone being in the same goal setting mindset. Sport, the noun is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. Oftentimes in those team settings, since we're referencing commercial real estate or real estate in general, we oftentimes do set goals to where we are competing with each other with deadlines, putting deadlines, realistic deadlines in place to where we can achieve it by a certain time frame, such as in a syndication, for example, when we tell our investor partners that it's a 5-year hold, but if in 3 years we can cash out, refi, or sell the asset, and it maximizes their overall returns, and all, the partnership team agrees on it as far as the general partnership team, and we sell that asset or we cash out, refi that asset, it's a team sport where we're either competing together for entertainment of some sort. In this case, it's to maximize our overall investment capital that was placed in. The verb is to wear or display. Communication, noun-wise, is a purpose, a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through symbols, signs, or behavior. And later I'll break down the percentages of how we communicate, because most of us think it's through talking, but oftentimes we don't realize it's through body language more than anything. And here to the right, you'll see a quote: "You cannot teach a person anything, you can only help them discover it in themselves." Value system. I'm very big on knowing my value system and someone else's value system, because oftentimes when we're communicating, we think we heard what we heard, but we never really ask for clarification and verification. So I always say clarify and verify, and ask for answers and descriptive examples, if possible, to get the answers that you're looking for, and don't assume. What is your value system? My personal value system is trust, belief, commitment, passion, vision, and reality. If I trust in something, I believe in it. If I trust in something that I believe in it, I become committed to it. If I trust in something, I believe in it, I become committed to it. A passion will naturally form for me. So if I trust in something, I believe in it, and I'm committed to it, and a passion forms for me, a vision will take place. So if I trust in it, I believe in it, I'm committed to it, my passion takes place, that vision forms. There's no reason that my vision cannot become a reality, as long as I have trust, belief, commitment, and passion. Because I don't do anything for a profit. I do it for a passion and a purpose. And if profit's on the other end of that, that means all parties agreed that profit wasn't a dirty word. But I'm very big on trust, commitment, belief, passion, vision, and forming a reality. So my question to you is, who are you? What are your core values and your value systems for you individually, not just you collectively with your family? A quote to the side is, "The greatest problem with communication is the assumption that it has taken place." I want to talk about purpose goals. I'm very big on acronyms. Anyone that actually knows me, I have an acronym for everything. And it's my way of always centering myself, always self-reflecting. Every day I start off my day when I work out by wearing all black. And all black to me symbolizes a clean slate. Like every day I start from zero. So that's why I always say it's always a great day to have a great day, because I'm setting the tone. I'm setting the meter of where I'm going to go and what I'm trying to achieve. And I just hope that the individuals around me, I can encourage them to want to do the same. So when I walk out my house, I say, "Off to conquer the world." And I let it go until I close the door. And I'm literally off to conquer the world, to do something great, to do something extraordinary and something phenomenal, and meet a bunch of phenomenal individuals to do it together, so we can be well and be wealthy together. But purpose goals, the P stands for patience. Have patience with yourself. I don't think we have enough patience with ourselves as much as we do with everyone else. The U is for understand. it is important to understand it is okay to be less selfless. Some of us are so selfless that we don't realize when we're getting in our own way of achieving our own goals, our own desires, and our own dreams and our own visions. R is for respect. Respect your time and peace every day. Don't pick and choose when something's a priority, when it should have priority over something of value. So I always say my priorities, I schedule my priorities so my values are met first. So therefore, I never have tasks that are maybe met, not met. No, I always schedule my priorities, which are my values, and they would get majority of my time first. So I would never leave that day saying, oh, there's not enough time in the day. Just schedule your priorities first. P is for perspective. What is your overall perspective of you? How do you show up for you on a daily basis? The O is for opportunity. Take the opportunity to self-reflect every day. S is for sincere. Be sincere with your thoughts and your actions. I always hear individuals say, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so. The words that come first from your mouth, you are the first to hear. That was a song by India Ari. That was one of the most powerful words in the song. Words that come from your mouth, you are the first to hear. So oftentimes, you know what you said. Chances are you didn't intend for it to be received the way that was received. E is for eager. Be eager to be the best version of you every single day. Don't take a day off being a better version of you, because you never know when you're going to add value to someone else. Team sport communication skills. To the left, you'll see a team sport communication breakdown. 55% of our body language of our communication is body language. Movements, eyes, face, arms, shoulders, whether it's shrug or whether it's a dropping of the shoulders, it's body language. So people watch what you do just as much as they listen. And most of the time, you hear the phrase, action speaks louder than words. I always tell the groups that I'm in when we do our action groups, don't tell me, show me. Don't tell me what you mean, show me what you mean. I want to see what you're talking about. Show it to me. Well, no, show me. So I want to clarify and verify. I want to trust and verify. I want on paper, on purpose. Show me. 38% is tone of voice and pauses, and 7% is words. To the right, you'll see the purpose. What do you want to happen? What actually happened? Because sometimes what we intended to happen might not have been exactly what happened or what actually happened or actually how another person received it. Expectations. Focus on the facts, not the feelings. Too many times individuals read a text message and they add emotions and feelings to words. People have feelings. People have emotions. Words don't. It's the people. So focus on the facts, not the feelings. And ask questions. Clarify and verify. Result. What do you end up talking about when you're talking? Or what were you talking about? Was it intended to meet the intention of what you were trying to communicate? Was your intended message received? And I'll get into that a little bit on a later slide, just about being intentional with your focus and your communication. And the process, these are those self-reflection questions. How you feel, how do you feel? What you feel, what do you feel, and why do you feel that way? Oftentimes when things happen, we try to process them, but we never ask ourselves a self-reflecting question first. Like, what took place? How did it make me feel? Why did it make me feel that way? And what will I do moving forward to work on those communication skills that will allow me to effectively communicate myself and deliver the message that I intended to be delivered the first time around, without a further explanation and or feeling the need to be remorseful for something you never intended to do in the first place. A quote is, communication works for those who work at it. Anything I've ever wanted in my life or I've ever achieved, it's because I was willing to work at it tirelessly, effortlessly, whether it was 3 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, when no one was watching. If you're willing to work at something, you will naturally get better at it, whatever it is. I always personally ask myself 4 questions. So I would say to you, in the event you find yourself in situations, there's 4 questions to ask yourself. And it's the process, the communication. overall. What did I do? Once again, focus on the facts, not what you think happened. What did I do? What should I have done? What will I do next time to make sure it never happens again the same way twice? I always say I meet a lot of perfectionists. Perfectionists never messing up the same way twice, or at least that's my definition of it. As long as I don't mess up the same way twice, I could work on me. I could be a better version of me. Every day I want to be a better version of me. So whatever took place, the next time I'll make sure it never happens again the same way twice. And one of the intentional parts is my attention, meaning my focus, in line with my intention, meaning the delivery of the verbiage or the delivery of the action that took place. And to break down a little bit further definition, attention, the focus, the action, the direction of the message that you are communicating, intention, the delivery, the direct, the self-evaluate for clarity. And I think that's the biggest thing in communication. Sometimes we don't oftentimes ask for clarity. We like to go with our own understanding and clarity, later to find out that we could have saved 10 to 20 unnecessary steps by just asking a clarifying, verifying question. How do you respond to you? Just a little simple exercise for yourself when you have a free time. Record a voice message and listen to the playback. Or either listen to your current voice message for that matter. When's the last time you've done that? Re-record the voice message when you're not smiling, and then do it again when you are smiling and see how it sounds. And the most important part is the next few times you leave a voice message for someone else, hit the playback and listen to your voice. How do you receive your own communication? Whether you were smiling or where you were not smiling. How do you receive your own communication? Sometimes it helps you with kind of realizing how someone else might receive it as well. As far as communication styles, there's a relator, a performer, an analyzer, a driver. So the breakdown of a relator is patient, supportive, empathetic, a great listener, a team player. A performer is creative, outgoing, motivating, enthusiastic, influential, persuasive. An analyzer is detail-oriented, reserved, cautious, shares facts and data, follows directions and policies. A driver is someone that's decisive, determined, strong leader, results focused, and direct, assertive. Who are you? I personally can tell you, and I'm gonna send you guys an exercise to where there's an example to where you can actually answer some questions to find out who you are. And it'll kind of help you realize if you are who you really think you are, or find out a little bit more about you with some further descriptive answers and things of that nature. Like, what are your strengths? How do you interact? How to interact with you? So once you know that, you know how to interact with someone that's a lot like you, or someone that may be a little different than you. I personally am a driver first. I'm very decisive and determined in whatever it is I plan on doing. I'm very strong leader in my current occupation over a lot of different things. Wasn't planned, wasn't desired, I assure you. At the same time, when others see value in you and they see your leadership skills, you don't tell someone no that you don't want to lead them. When they see what's in you, the hardest part of leading is getting others to follow. Results focus. I'm very big on performance metrics and things of that nature, EKPIs. Almost everything I do is budget wise, looking at EKPIs, seeing what works, what doesn't work, why it worked, why it didn't work, and what we can do, next time or moving forward to put some plan of actions in place to get it on the line or track or timeline or deadline in which we're trying to achieve those goals, and make sure the team is communicated to from top to bottom, whether it's processes and procedures. I work on PPMs, which are private placement memorandums, and I also work on PPMs, which are policies, procedure manuals on a daily basis. And then I'm direct and I'm very assertive. I try to always lead with grace and compassion, because you never know how someone's day has been or what they've gone through or what they've been through in their life. So you never know what makes them want to do more and what makes them want to do less. What's their motivator and what's their non-motivator. After that, I'm definitely an analyzer. I'm very detail oriented. However, I'm very flexible, kind of like an exit plan with some of these assets that most acquire. When there was a shutdown, a lot of people had to have an exit plan that was very flexible. And we found out who the quality operators were and that had certain things in place for their investors and their partners that partner with them on those acquisitions. I'm very reserved and cautious when it comes to certain things, but I usually have a plan and I work the plan, and I can deviate a detour in situations just large in part because my previous professions and things of that nature of being in large crowds, having to perform at the drop of a dime. There was no excuses. You either perform or you did not. You either had success or you did not. Shares, facts, and data. I will always share information. I'm never that person that wants to leave everything in my head. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. You'll see me leaving the exit door very shortly if I feel as though I am the smartest person in the room. Fortunately, I've never felt that way. So I always try to find myself in situations to where I can always learn. I'm always willing to learn, whether it's from a 5-year-old or whether it's from someone twice my senior or someone laying over at when I go to the different shelters and things of that nature. I learn something every day from someone that's very phenomenal in their own way, whether they know it or not. I follow directions and policies. Now, I am also that person that within following directions and policies, I will ask verifying, clarifying questions. More importantly, I know usually who I'm communicating to. So I ask the questions detailed in a way that they will comprehend it and understand it to where that they can answer the question the way I intended it to receive it, to where it was clarifying to them, clarifying to me, to where they also know I wasn't trying to be, underlying in any way, rude or disrespectful in any shape or form or fashion. And then here, for me, it's how may I be of value to you? How may we be of value to each other? So I would love to do a Q&A with you guys. And before there, I have a quote that says, the greatest problem with communication is the assumption that it has taken place. And I leave a short screen up with the Q&A. Here's if you want to connect with me, I make a book of success call, Q&A with your, you get QR code with your phone. I have my Life Legacy Capital, which it's a capital resource, all things capital, whether it's lenders, CPAs, because oftentimes we get referrals from people, but we never had a virtual video of them to where someone had a Q&A with them to help you understand how they operate, what they do, what they bring to the table, what values, and how you can see yourself aligning and partner with that lender or that CPA. I also dwell in index options. It's allowed me to continuously protect my principal and while growing my capital. So if ever I wanted to take a seat back from investing, I'm constantly growing my capital with 8 to 20+% return on my capital that's being protected by my initial principal. So that's all things like Legacy Capital. I also have my Synergy Paradigm Capital with additional business partners that are absolutely phenomenal, to where we look to invest in anything that's cash flowing, whether it's multifamily, self-storage, parking garages, things of that nature. We look to partner with other phenomenal individuals to take down quality assets to maximize investors' returns overall. I also am a managing partner for our private school, which is called U.P.O.S.E. It's a college prep private school, because I got, my ears kind of shut when I kept hearing about student loan debt. And I think student loan debt ultimately exists because individuals going to college, changing their majors their junior year in college, and they're adding on 2 to 4 additional, maybe 6 semesters because they didn't know what they wanted to do career-wise in high school. So Youth Serve starts at 9th graders. And with those 9th graders, what we do is we have different academies in place, whether it's engineering, arts, craft, education, commercial real estate, things of that nature. We want to be a pilot or whatever the case may be. We have partnered with the actual college that allows us to utilize their current professors as our teachers for our students. For incoming 9th graders, the second year they start taking college courses. So they leave with a high school diploma, 2-year college career in that particular trade and go on to get their bachelor's of their college of choice. And we support them and pour all of our resources into them. But it's 9th through 12th grade. And then we have our L.I.F.E Sports Academy. L.I.F E stands for Let's Invest in Future Education and Employment for youth and adults. And that starts at age 4 all the way through. And most of those kids also attend our Youth Serve Academy. I would like to stop sharing the screen and get to connect and know you guys a little more.
Thank you for that great presentation, Aubrey. Question. It said
Yes.
questions. Clarify and verify, right?
Yes, sir.
You say, when you say clarify and verify, right? When you're talking to somebody, and do you keep it really simple so they can understand? So there's no mix up, right? Because I believe in the KISS principle. Keep it simple.
Success.
Okay.
I say keep it simple, success. I'm very big on your word choice, because you never know how someone else may receive or the connotation. You never know their background. Like, my family's fast talkers, but at the same time, they clarify and they verify with that fast talk. So they know when to slow down, they know when to ask a question, they know when to speed up. They know, so whether you island, you never know where someone's from, because when you're in different countries, I've been blessed to live in different countries as well. And when you don't immerse yourself in someone else's culture, they can find that very disrespectful. Or when someone says, "Oh, that's just water." I've been to places, I just left one. I've been to places to where you can't just drink all water, and it's not just water. They value things that you might not value. So just consider all the different surroundings that add up to the world that we live in, the life we are blessed to live. And then when we're talking to someone, don't assume, just ask a further detailed question, and the tone, the pitch, the pace in which you ask those questions, clarify and verify. So most people, I always say, this is my go-to, if you don't mind me asking, if I may ask. So I'm leading with, a buffer for them to let them know that I'm asking because I really want to clarify. So I heard you the first time, so you don't have to repeat yourself. So I'm putting all the onus back on me, but letting them know I want to make sure I overstand. I don't want to understand. I want to overstand it. So even if I miss something, I'm going to fall right where you want me to be at. I want to be so far away that you got to keep communicating to me. And you're like, well, is this genius just not a genius? So it's just one of those things where I try to over communicate than under communicate, because I personally think people want to be overprotected than underprotected. So I'd rather you over communicate with me than under communicate with
me. Right. Right. Listen, that's a good thing. Over communicating is very good. Therefore, there's no misunderstanding.
Have a phenomenal day, Miss Nicole. Now Nicole is letting us know she had to get out.
Yeah, she leave. I can't type fast. I couldn't type fast. I didn't take the middle speaking type in class. Okay, Kenneth, go ahead, man. You got a question for Aubrey?
Well, first, excellent presentation as always. You always bring so much value every time I listen to you. But you brought up a point, especially about the communication that I struggle with, because it's the standard is like most of your communication is nonverbal. Like you mentioned, body language, tone, stuff like that. But in a Zoom environment, like especially the last couple of years, where most if not all communications are their distance or that, how do you think that's changed? And like some people are more like comfortable person to person than rather talking to a computer screen like right now. So how do you think that has changed, or how do you like overcome that, like the Zoom environment where you can't really get get a good projection of somebody's body language or what you're saying? Is it just more tone and pace, like these things you're talking about, like tone, pace, and that? Or how would you approach that?
I think I'm that person that when I listen to what you're saying, I listen to what you're not saying. And when you ask me a question, I answer that question. And I also ask and give further detail to answer the question that I think you're trying to also ask, in the event you answer the question. As far as Zoom, I'm that person that it's hard to really communicate with anyone with the screen off. So if I'm in a one-on-one setting, or when you do virtual breakout rooms, etc., one of the things that the host usually says is, for networking purposes, how can you network with someone if they don't have their screen on? So ultimately, if they have their screen on, then you can truly network with them. At some point in time, if you're talking about partnering or investing, if we're talking about this space, ultimately, I'm not investing with anyone I haven't seen their face. I don't care how great their background is. I don't care how great they speak. For all I know, that's their brother's voice or sister's voice, mother's voice, or whomever. And then that's somebody else's quote. Anyone can put anything on a website. So that goes back to trust and verify. That's why I initially led with, I'm an active and passive investor in, meaning I'm letting you know I look to passively invest, I look to actively invest. Whereas a lot of individuals right now are networking with individuals and they've yet to ask them if they're operator or if they're actual active or passive, or if they're just there just to learn or what journey they're on. Some individuals don't initially share that, but I see a lot of Q&As or on someone's website, they're asking you, are you accredited or not? And they don't even know your name yet. So it's just one of those things where if something's not working for you, you need to go back and reevaluate your approach. Because when I'm trying to add value, I'm not trying to know if you're accredited. I'm trying to know truly how can I add value to you, because that's the core of who I am. That's how I was raised. And for everyone, that's different. And I always say, does that sound fair? I've never heard anyone turn their, say something negative to me. I've never seen anyone turn their camera off, but I always ask them, does that sound fair? If I may ask, do you mind turning your camera on so I can speak to you so we can have a phenomenal conversation? I would love to see your smile. I would love to say something positive. You'd be surprised what responses that you get. Now, when I'm out and about at the larger networks, I do work the room. And then I leave, but it's always a great day to have a great day. That is the biggest icebreaker, because I don't care what type of day you're having. I've been in meeting with thousands of people, talking in front of the commissioners, etc. And guess what they all say when they see me? It's always a great day to have a great day, right, Albrey? And I'm laughing because I'm reading the play, listening to the playback, and I wasn't even in the room. So once you contagiously, have that icebreaker for a room, you have to find out what works for you before you try to find out what works for them. And then once you find out what works for you, you know how you communicate, how you receive communication, and then ask them how they like to be communicated to, and don't assume. I hope that answered.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
So, you alluded to about, you were in the crowd, the lights and everything else. And what are you talking about?
Well, right now, this last week, I got invited to the ESPN Women Changing the Game. So it's like one of those invite-only opportunities. And it was just a lot of women changing the game in the sports field and in the sports space and different things of that nature. And there was a lot of county commissioners, mayors, a lot of significant individuals that were in that room. And it was a phenomenal opportunity personally. So those type of lights, when you're have the opportunity to be in that situation, networking, when you have the opportunity to, I worked at universities in front of, talking in front of thousands of student bodies and having them as a director in certain situations to where they're coming to you to talk, to where you're meeting with the presidents and the provosts, getting them to come in to be guest speakers when most people wouldn't even be able to get them to block them off in their schedule. So going to say hello to people on a Wednesday just because it's a Wednesday, not because I want something or I need something, showing them they're valuable, not just because of their title, because to me, titles don't move me. They're just a part of who you are. It's not the core of who you are. So once you get to know people and they see your value, you go from there. But as to what you're trying to allude to, I do have a background in sports as well. I've worked collegiately, played professionally, and things of that nature. But ultimately, the overall goal was to have those different things that could add value, those different experiences that add value. So when you spoke, you were heard. And more importantly, when you spoke, you move people to be in a position to want to be a better version of them. Because I'm a firm believer that if you do have two hands, one's to pull yourself up and other one's to pull others with you. And more importantly, to get them, to encourage them to want to bring others along with them as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else's question? Okay, I got another question.
You always
Clarify and verify. So you talking about purpose. The first one is patience. You said patience with yourself, right? How important is being patient with yourself? How important is it to you?
It's very, 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 very. Like, I can speak for myself. I'm a very determined person. Like, when I set a goal, I cut it in half. Like, I will force the envelope. I will force the issue. When I'm focused on something, there's nothing that can deter me. There's nothing that can stop me. There's nothing that's going to stop me. I've always been self-motivated. and things of that nature. And I get that honest between my parents and the surroundings and things of that nature. Just watching a bunch of determined individuals that no wasn't an answer. It was why not? Why not me? Why not this opportunity? Why not making this a choice? Why not? Like, why not? Like, you can say whatever reason you want to, or give whatever suggestion you like. But I'm a firm believer in, I don't believe in problems. I don't believe in issues. I believe in situations, situations that require experiences. Experiences to me sometimes also are failures. Like, I don't say, oh, that's a failure. No, it's not. It's an experience. The question is, how are you going to receive it? More importantly, how are you going to respond to it? So once I'm met with a situation, do I have the experience with that situation to come to a solution of success? If I have experience, then I have multiple opportunities to have solutions with that experience for that situation. But oftentimes we find ourselves in situations with no experience. Now, this is where a network comes in to hand, to where you can have an action group, to where someone else has had that experience or something close to it, or know someone that does that, they can bring to the network to add more value, so they can actually talk through that situation with their experience. But I do want to say this, everyone experiences their own experience. Everyone's journey is their own journey. So therefore, that doesn't mean that's your journey, nor will that be your experience or your outcome. But the goal is to have a multitude of solutions to find yourself on the outcome of having success. And ultimately, you determine what success looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I find patience, sometimes you're right, patience with myself sometimes is like, come on, what have you, let's go. You know, there's a lot of things you just said tonight, the purpose. You know,
that's one of the reasons why I wake up pretty early. Like, I'm up between like 3 and 4 a.m. and that's my me time. Like that, somewhere it's 4 p.m. And like I say, from living in different countries and different time zones, somewhere it's 4 o'clock. So you're still behind. And I always say a day off is another woman's game. The day we meet up, we're gonna know who's been working. And that was the competitive part of me when I had to do that. And the hardest part was turning that off. And I always knew when I wasn't competing and I had to perform at a high level, that offside of that, everybody's like, oh my goodness, you're so different. I said, no, this is who I actually am. I said, remember, we get paid to do that. So I show up and I get paid. Because if I don't perform, that determines my pay. So my wins and my non-wins determine my overall value, not the core of who I was. Because they didn't care how great I was at my, occupation, or how great I was at my performance level. They cared about, did I perform? And then they cared about the next night, did I perform? They cared about the next day, did I perform? And the minute you don't perform, yeah. So I overstand performance. At the same time, I never tried to push that off on anyone else. I meet them where they're at, and I lead with grace, and I lead with compassion. And then I ask clarifying, verifying questions to see how I may be of value.
Thank you for that. Anyone have any questions? No more questions. You raise your hand, Dulcie?
I got one. Just follow up, I guess. It's a little one.
Yeah,
you mentioned getting up at 3 or 4 a.m. How do you manage that with the sleep cycle on the back? Like, when do you go to bed? Like, because a lot of the times, like, Lawrence keeps us up late chatting. We gotta go to bed sometime. I struggle with that a lot. Is trying to, like, I get up early too, but making sure I get enough sleep is definitely a key thing, and it is a struggle a lot of the times to try to not burn the candle on both ends.
I think it's different for everyone. For me, it depends on what I have going on. Like, if I have some deadlines and I know I need an extra hour here or an extra hour there, because around, like, from say 4 a.m. to about 7 a.m., I get a lot of stuff done. And I'm usually on a lot of international phone calls as well. So it offsets the time frames. With that time, I usually get a workout in. I always notice that when I work out, I feel a lot better, and dopamines are just carrying me out through a good chunk of the day. But I always say, schedule your priorities. Once you schedule your priorities, that sets your values high. They're in the forefront. And then ultimately you decide how much time needs to go to that. For some people, they say they need 8. Me, I need about 4 or 5, and I'm fine. I don't try to make it an overall habit all the time. At the same time, like this past weekend when I was traveling, I didn't wake up at 4. So I give myself that week. Or if I change my eating cycle, or if I just go straight vegan, or whatever the case may be, I've noticed a huge difference in my body as well. So it's just more so of what it is that I'm trying to achieve within that month, within that 90 days, because I have that 4 year. Every 90 days is truly a year for me. So every 90 days, I'm trying to maximize my time, my value, and I have certain goals every 90 days to achieve, whether it's through my sports academy, the private school, whether it's at my W-2, whatever the case may be. I just always find ways to challenge myself and not having someone else challenge me before I challenge myself. But I
To
always say, figure out
help
what-
with the, I'm sorry.
no,
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was done.
I heard you pause. I didn't need to let you take a breath every once in a while. So with the 90 days, you mentioned having goals every 90 days to help with the communication with yourself. Do you have those like posted somewhere? Like how do you keep those top of mind throughout that whole time frame to keep like moving towards those goals during that time frame?
There's something on the mirror, each mirror in the house. There's something on the refrigerator. All my hot spots, all the places
Okay.
I know I have to go to. I don't watch live television. I don't like commercials. So I don't even waste time watching television. Because for me, there's not much of anything on there for me of value, which is why I do a lot of the other things that I do. So I cut that out. So that's not something that takes up a ton of time for me. Or some people, that might be something that takes up a ton of time for them. I'm in the car traveling at least 2 hours a day. So I get a lot in during that time too, audio wise or conversation wise. I have a rule, even though that's why office wise I stayed a little longer, but I work at work, home at home. I don't take anything of work home with me. So that's another reason of getting up earlier as well. And fortunately, I also set my schedule. Even at my W-2, I set the schedule. But I set the schedule out for a month and I plan accordingly. I also ask staff what's their schedule like. I want them to have family time, valuable time, and see what we all need and how we can be of value to each other. But I plan it out. The refrigerator, like sometimes I have to put a muzzle over my mouth because I love food. It's one of the reasons why I work out. But the refrigerator, mirror, things of that nature. And then in my phone, I use an app called Evernote. It's a green, I don't know if you guys know, but it's a green elephant. And regardless if you lose a phone or whatever the case may be, you just sign back in and all your notes are still there.
No, neat. Thank you. That's interesting. I hadn't heard about putting the different things on the mirror and the fridge and stuff. That's a good idea. Then you're always seeing it all the time.
And I have quotes too, like for the whole month, every month for that whole year, I have a different quote that pops up at the beginning of the day.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Good question, Rachel. Des, go ahead, Des.
Hey, thank you so much, Laddie. Thank you, Albrey. Great presentation. One of the things I heard you just say was waking up early. And I was reading a book, the 5 a.m. Club, I believe. And it was also refreshing to hear that you said you wake up, you get a lot of things put in. Do you not get on social media within a few minutes that you give yourself time to jot things down or your goals for that day, like for 20 minutes or 30 minutes? I know you said you work out as well. And sometimes if you can't get it in the morning, do you find it during the day, or you try to find it during that day where you have a time to yourself for 20 or 30 minutes of thoughts?
I prefer it on the front end. I don't ever feel like I want to play catch up because you don't know what the day is going to bring. So once again, I schedule my priorities, which are the things that I value first. So that's my me time, as opposed to trying to make me time on the back end and I never get to it. And oftentimes that's sometimes when we lose ourselves in situations or in individuals because we didn't take care of us first. So time-wise, that's the biggest transaction I will ever make in my life. So if I'm going to make transactional time commitments, I need to make sure I set aside my me time first, early when everyone's sleeping and they have no clue that I even did it already. And I always say, Aubrey, it never seems like you work. You're working too hard. I make it look easy because I already did the hard stuff. The hardest part was getting up for you. The hardest part for me was doing what needed to be done during the time I was up. As far as social media, the only social media I have is LinkedIn. And that's only because of a college professor, to be honest with you. And another challenge that led me to actually utilize it. But I don't utilize social media. I'm very particular about what I put in my time frame, what's in my view, because ultimately I never want to develop a habit that's hard to get rid of. So social media has never been one for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, by like checking emails first, you don't want to do that as much when you're waking up because that can distract you, like you said.
No, that's all done when I head to the office. I
Okay.
like work at home at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So we're kind of getting off the communication topic a little bit, but and more into like personal stuff. But do you have multiple phones to help with the work at work and home at home thing? Like, how do you separate the phone calls from like, because if you're talking to investors or if you're talking to other partners or things like that, or you've got contractors working versus like your home call, like how do you separate those communication streams so that you can keep that separated?
Asana. I utilize Asana.
Okay.
If need be there. We also utilize WhatsApp. Everyone has their different time frames of who's doing what. And one of the reasons I do that too, because my previous profession, like if I missed a phone call, I might miss out on a big payday. And once I made that pivot and that shift and change, it was important for me to change that aspect, not being on call 7 days a week, because my time was very valuable. So whether it's an investor, etc., I've always made myself available. That just means I stayed at the office longer. That just means I stayed in certain places longer. But most investors, they're not gonna go call you 10 o'clock at night anyway. I understand there's different time zones and things of that nature, but sometimes what we do is we'd say, okay, all the California, etc., all those individuals call the California sponsor, or call since I'm actually located in Florida, South Florida. So that means most of them would call me if we were on that time zone. But ultimately, I'm pretty big on being proactive instead of reactive. I'll communicate early. Hey, just letting you guys know I will be unavailable between this time and that time. Feel free to connect with such and such. Here's the contact information. So just
Okay.
being
So you're really
proactive.
utilizing that team. Sorry. I'm really bad at interrupting. I'm working on that. So you utilize the team to really help out with that as well and have backup. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And if you don't
Yeah.
have a team, there's other ways too, because not everyone has a team.
Yeah, I'm working on one. Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to find out about everything. I haven't tried using Asana for the communication that directly yet, but the WhatsApp's an interesting one. I haven't thought about using that.
You're gonna laugh at this next one. Okay,
What's that?
so here's this one. I'm gonna let this one out, and it's recorded. Okay, so I've been told I'm a pretty good communicator. I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why my communication is also pretty good. It's the proactive piece. I have a Google phone, which means there's no block, blah, 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 going through here, going through there, doesn't work here, there. I can pre-schedule everything. I can pre-schedule my text messages months, weeks, days in advance. I can pre-schedule my emails months, weeks, days in advance. So if I already know I have to do something, like early this morning, I had a training session. And right before that training session, I received a text message letting me know, hey, I need to change this, change that. I was able to pre-schedule something for the whole month and let them accept before I walked back in the door, because I already had it set up waiting for them so I can accept either or. And then I set the time of when I wanted to send the reminder to them. So I was already in my training session, and when I got out, they had already answered all the questions I needed for me to hit yes or no.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay. That's a great tip.
So that's a beautiful thing about Google Pixel and Verizon mobile app for their text messaging. It allows you to pre-schedule everything as well.
Neat. I had not looked into that. That's a great one. Thank you.
Yeah, I need that myself. Because I find getting up early is just a hard thing for me. I don't know what it is, but then it's going to bed at night. I can stay till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I guess it just is evening itself out for me.
Yeah, no, I have some clients that they're used to getting a 6 a.m. text or something like that as a reminder, etc. So I just pre-schedule them. So if it's one of those days that I'm going to sleep in, and sleeping in for me is 6 or 7 a.m. So if I'm sleeping in past that time they're used to receiving that message, I just pre-schedule it already on those dates.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Aubrey.